Shalom family, it's your man Elijah. Thank you for joining me in Unsectarian Wisdom, and as usual, I'm a wise, wealthy, rich, celestial being that is loved by the Most High Creator. Let's go ahead and jump in, family. We got the Navigator who crossed the ice wall today. Let's go ahead and jump in. The Summer Gate and the Spiritual Education. The Summer Gate was a success since the Custodians were not noticing our presence when entering the lands for several years. The whole group and even Butler were forbidden to enter by order of Fa'el, who considered that if they found us there, not only would they put an end to our lives, but they would try to get information from us using any means. And the whole plan would run a serious risk. As we said, the plan had to be perfect or not exist at all, because a failed plan was an assured reset. The years went by, and the plan of the spiritual awakening of the human being in the known lands had been increasing and was developing in a correct and safe way. The teachers who entered through the mentioned portal were able to carry out the teachings and the form of education that any child received here in these lands, prioritizing the importance of the human soul, unconditional love and empathy. Unfortunately, as we imagine, certain black hands began to be noticed around these teachings, confusing the human being and causing many to move away. These three great premises began to be corrupted as well as to become a cruel business. But as I said before, there were other plans to supplant these others when things began to get dark. It was a constant struggle so that our incidents would not be discovered. But neither should we let the plans fall into the hands of the Custodians completely. It was time now to carry out another plan that would bring consequences. A navigator and faithful friend would arrive from these lands with a vessel built here, simulating the time of that moment, and would tell his story to the world. He would reveal major issues that needed to be known for those who wanted to listen. Antarctica passage between walls of ice, discovery of other lands. The ancestral republic will be named for the first time in the history of this humanity with different name. The story would be intermingled with themes of the time, both economic and social, for its apprehension. We knew the system created based on the strong scientific conditioning by means of heliocentrism. It was no easy task. The ancestral navigator spent some time in a well-known harbor within the ice walls, where he showed the curious a lot of real information about the Republic and the human past, including about the giant humans. Before the story was published, a lot of information was manipulated, and the story came out half-baked, being quite confusing and leaving several important points unmentioned. The author ended up disappearing and being locked up. My faithful friend returned urgently to the lands, as this would draw the attention of the Custodians, who would seek by all means to understand how the information had been leaked. While they were confident in their manipulation, they would seek other means to dissuade him. And we knew that a not so friendly visit was expected that could come from either the known lands, Custodial, or Anunnaki. And the Custodians avoided us again, and this made us stronger. The giant humans, as Butler once remarked, would sooner or later give their help, and great technology was again shared, and with this we were again ahead of the Custodial advance. What were the moves of the Custodians in this silent war? They would use the human being to match their technology. This would bring great consequences, as the human being was not prepared for the use of such advanced technology, coupled with custodial colonizing conditioning. It was a time bomb that was not long in coming. Great wars and a deadly plague were precipitated into the environment for the enjoyment of the Custodians. Human expeditions to Antarctica began, financed by leaders who had direct connection with the reigning power. They knew they had to focus on education to continue corrupting the new human generations. Several space achievements would come to lay solid foundations of heliocentrism. The possibility of other lands behind the ice walls would be almost buried. They started then with the creation of bases around the entire Antarctic ring, added to the exclusion zones. A strong militarization of key areas. Also, not long after the Summer Gate was discovered, the Custodians took this as a game to demonstrate their power against ours. We feel that in a way they enjoyed it, but they also knew they were risking too much. A few years before the first custodial attack on our lands, called Operation Highjump, by means of a large number of human soldiers and custodial technology, the media barely mentioned it, but it was one of the biggest moves made by any military force. Largest movement by any military force in history of the new humanity. The leader was known as Richard Byrd and was used in several missions in reconnaissance of other lands. But in the official missions, he would never reach our lands, although his attack could endanger our people. Both us and the Anakim had no intention of attacking them, but to make them withdraw their armed forces in a peaceful way. The Anakim masters talked several times with their leader, but another force entered the conflict, and a great battle was fought just behind the first dome. Then the same leader would make contact several times with the Anakim masters, and would also help us to carry out the plan of human awakening within the known lands, becoming an infiltrator for a while, eventually by choice or obligation. This changed dramatically, and as we were informed, the military leader delivered valuable and secret information of the Anakim technology, and was the first of the group of the new humanity to be sent to Mars in recognition of his work. Attacking us with our human beings was one of the many perverse strategies of the enemy. It was their way to demonstrate their power and make us face our past. Since we sought to liberate it and not to confront them in absurd battles that were defended by mere conditioning, we knew that all this game that they were carrying out would end abruptly by their way of acting. We were going to continue gaining around in this awakening, and they would start attacks within the environment with the different techniques, as always: natural disasters, pandemics, wars between nations, etc. Those academic books that until now seemed untouchable began to be strongly questioned, and the entire academy began to reel from the possibility of another model. The infinite earth would begin to emerge and would be the ultimate plan that would give way to the final liberation attempt. Alright, family, that's the end of that chapter. I will catch y'all later. Be blessed.